Good afternoon, YouTube. Good afternoon. This is number one. I want to start with saying this. My name is Hassan Patterson. I have over a decade worth of experience when it comes to business lending. That bleeds into one-on-one coaching, consulting, in finance, real estate, you name it. The resolution is going to be a little shaky. I will say that. This is my laptop I'm using. I don't have certain equipment, so we're going to build it while we fly it, so to speak, and we're going to um, be fixing the lighting and things of that nature. We're going to grow. Just bear with me. So, and at the end of this, I will be uploading it if I do have the opportunity to do so. So basically, the topic today is business in 2024. What is different? Matter of fact, let me just turn the light on and just flip this over. I don't know. I don't know if that makes a difference, but it might. Okay, 2024 business. What's different? There's a lot of stuff going on. You know, and as small businesses, small business owners, influencers, is kind of you get stuck in your day to day, and sometimes you lose sight of some of the changes that are going on in the industry. Um, Obviously, we don't all come from the same walk of life. Some of us are truckers, some of us things of that nature. So it's not even like we all have the opportunity to necessarily know what's going on with some of the new features and social media and things of that nature. But overall, it's always going to be beneficial to actually know those things. Um, so yeah, so what's new? 2024 is a different year. Last year was the start of a big conversation with this AI, artificial intelligence. A lot of you probably heard of Chat GPT, but I mean, if I told you guys that there are several different applications that are use AI, you guys probably be like, "Wow, I've never heard of half that stuff." Um, yeah, so I was on Instagram and I was curious, and I basically I just typed in tech. That's all I did, and a whole bunch of AI programs came up. I mean, a list of 100 of them. No, and research, copywriting, image editing, and video editing is concerned, there's a whole bunch of different applications that use AI. Why is that important? AI is going to change the game. It's going to change the landscape for entrepreneurs in a big way. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time to be invested into tech. Tech is going to accelerate. Those who are tech savvy, they're going to be accelerated years beyond you if you don't get a grasp on what's going on right now and know how to use everything to your advantage. It's already happened with social media in a big way, right? How many of us have seen social media take businesses from 0 to 100 just by going viral? Tech, particularly AI, no different. No different. At the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are in a situation, we're postured and positioned to reach our greatest potential in business. And we've already realized that it was hard enough. It's already hard enough to start a business up from the ground up with limited resources. If you're not using things like, digital marketing, if you're not using social media marketing, you're already at a big disadvantage. If you're not going outside and really building your brand, boots to the ground, that's also going to give you a disadvantage because people don't see you in your local market, which we could get into later. The tech game, if you're not in on that, you're going to be left behind. It's just very simple. Just things like AI, which are automated responses and they're basically going to give you insight that you don't necessarily need to think about. You don't have to brainstorm really anymore to get answers. You can just ask something to give you an answer, and you can actually generate an entire game plan, an entire operation on that without having to sit down with a council, without having to brainstorm with 10 different people. You could just ask the computer and it'll tell you. Now, if you know how to use this effectively, I foresee businesses, if you're starting up with a business on the same day, same everything, you open up your LLC, XYZ, you guys get all your paperwork together and they're using tech that you're not, you're going to lose. Very simple. You know, fortunately, I live very near a major city, New York City, Manhattan. So it's not Silicon Valley or anything, but it's, I get to see a lot of different applications that are being thrown around all the time. So, I mean, I don't know if you're in the Midwest somewhere, you might want to tune in. You might want to start, getting in a part of this conversation with your local community or communities online. Maybe even those of which that aren't at all, in your proximity, just so you could get access to the information and start getting access to the utilization of them. Because I'll tell you one thing: if you don't have your social media down, if you're not branding yourself, if you're not creating a personal brand, we're bleeding into the second part of the conversation topic. If you're not creating a personal brand, you're not really creating a business nowadays. People are not necessarily associating themselves with corporations and businesses just as standalones because of the way that we are marketing ourselves, what platform we're marketing ourselves. So most of the businesses, oh yeah, well, Hassan, XYZ, there's a whole bunch of businesses that basically, look at McDonald's, look at, Facebook, look at this. Those got grandfathered in. Those don't count. Those got grandfathered in. Some of them even created a pathway into necessitating a personal brand. But all those companies that got grandfathered in are lucky. We don't need to talk about those anymore. And as such, they still have personal brands. Look at Tesla. Tesla got grandfathered in. Tesla's been around for a long time. Amazon got grandfathered in. But they still have Jeff Bezos as a figurehead. When you Amazon, you think Jeff Bezos. When you see Facebook, you think Mark Zuckerberg. They all have their own brands. So if they wanted to, what's the significance? If they wanted to go open up another venture, they wanted to start another venture or open up another company or business vertical, they can do that because they have a brand. They don't need to use Facebook's. Everybody, it doesn't need to associate itself with Facebook anymore. It doesn't need to associate itself with Tesla and so on. They have their own power to do that with their name. They don't need to do that. That's why it's important for everybody else. They're not buying from the company. They're buying from you. Because there's no more when company names were important because there was a time where you used to have a storefront. Now that storefronts are going out of style and offices and things of that nature, people are meeting up virtually. People want to trust you. That means that you need to have some type of you need to have content, but more importantly, and overall, you're going to need to have a digital footprint. You need to have a digital footprint. If you don't have a digital footprint, basically they're not going to trust you. Recently, I even had to go back and really I have to work on my image as well. I basically recently just put up a whole bunch of photos and went to the city and took my own photos. I'm starting to use my Instagram. I changed to a professional Instagram. I think my Instagram link is in the description on my channel. But yeah, these are things that we have to do. It's a must. It's not gonna. I mean, it's not saying that you can't succeed without it, because there's always going to be things like advertising, like ads. There's always going to be things like word of mouth. But we're talking about getting to a point where you can start scaling your business organically without necessarily having to use all your resources, your monetary resources for ads and things in the beginning stages. Yeah, 2024, personal brand. Personal brands are going to be very, very key. Anybody, if you're not focusing on it, if people don't know you, if they don't know you, they can't feel you, they can't register with you, they can't vibe off of you. It's not going to happen. It's not, or at least it's not going to be as easy. And that's going to really be based on your social media approach. What is your overall marketing approach on social media? Are you going to be on YouTube, Instagram? Are you going to be on Pinterest, where you have a bio? People are going to be looking at bios, pictures, IG. What medium are you going to be using in order to get in front of people that are ultimately going to be buying from you? And it doesn't really matter what it is. Let's be clear, guys. Let's be clear. Some people say, well, my audience isn't on social media. Yeah, how do you know? You don't know that. You don't know that. You don't know what kind of information someone can give you or what type of collaboration you could have with another business that's on there. Let's stop acting like we know everything. That's one thing as entrepreneurs that I've seen I've been doing this a decade. Trust me. I probably talked to you before, or I've probably reached out to you before. I've been in business lending. I've seen businesses fail. I've seen businesses come into business. I've seen businesses stay in business. I've seen it all. Pandemic, all of that. One thing is people need to stop thinking they know everything. That's that. You don't know everything. You don't know how much. You don't know how much you think you know about the overall market. You're not, because the thing about entrepreneurs, again, your head is me. I'm a creator to even talk to a lot of you guys. Whether you're a startup, whether you're an existing business, doesn't really matter. I have to come to the table with a certain amount of information just to even have a conversation with you. However, if you're starting up, or if you have an existing business and your business is thriving or XYZ, again, you're putting yourself you're in a situation where you don't have a stream of consciousness in terms of a wealth of information coming at you every 2 seconds. You are busy. You don't have a stream of tech information, a stream of this information coming at you. You are a busy business owner that's working on their brand, their daily operations, trying to stay ahead, trying to get ahead, or trying to spin off and open up something. You already have your business and your brand here. Maybe you want to make another brand and you want to do something else, but you're busy. So you need consultants, you need people on your side that are going to be able to help you and be honest with you. 2024 in business is about honesty. That's why people appreciate branding more. Personal brands. You get to see what your cup of tea is. If I'm not your cup of tea, or if I am your cup of tea, that's going to be determined by what the audience thinks of me on my live stream, my photos, my lifestyle, how I talk, the way, what I'm saying, how I dress, all types of things. That's going to be predicated on what I present to the audience. So as such, as business owners, we need to be doing the same thing. And trust me, it all counts, because it all started with Yelp. Yelp started all of this because at one point in time, if you were a business owner 20 years ago, nobody cared. Oh, I went to this place, it was the best, this, that. But you listening to the person that was talking to you. Nobody was online 20 years ago like that. So at the end of the day, you're listening to word of mouth. If you're listening to the 80% or the 4 out of 5 stars that are saying it was great, then okay, you're going to go. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be listening to the 1 and the 5 stars. Yelp changed that whole thing. Standpoints of the businesses that they were visiting or having experiences with. Keep that in mind. You need to market yourself in a way that you ultimately, and it's stressful, but it's ultimately flawless. You know how many restaurants I go to where they have subpar, like it's almost like it takes them 15 minutes to give me a cup of water. Look at a lot of these online businesses. A lot of these online businesses, you can't even talk to anybody ever. Everything is, oh, it's AI automated. It's not even the real AI. It's just AI chat. It's just automated chat. That's all it is. The A stands for automated, not even artificial intelligence. So that is going to be, at a growth standpoint, it's going to be very, very crucial for small businesses, startups, freelancers. Gotta get your quality up. Quality has to go up. Everything is going to be in front of the client. Everything is client facing. There's no more. Yeah, you could have some behind the scenes stuff, but ultimately, people are going to be peeking into your lifestyle a lot more than they used to because of social media. Subsequently, if you don't use social media and people don't see you, they're not going to care. Or they're probably not going to know you exist, really. So, what do I say all this to say? I say all this to mean ultimately that not only is it going to bring your competition ahead, but it's just going, AI is going to make it just easier. The barrier to entry to market is going to be significantly low, significantly easier to get into than we used to have in the past. It's going to be easier. People are just going to be able to talk to the. They're going to take, okay, let me design my website. All this stuff is done. Now we get into the operations. So basically, there's going to be a whole bunch of more people that are fighting for the same attention as you. There's going to be more. There's going to be more players that are able to go, depending on your vertical. Obviously, if you're in a capital intensive vertical like developing or truck or transportation or something like that, where you got to put upfront money, that barrier entry is always going to be there. It's always going to be there. But in general, the information is out there. So ultimately, if the information is out there, and there's still going to be more people that are going to be interested if they care about driving trucks or if they care about developing. The information is going to be out there enough where they can still structure back of the house automation in a process so that they can have cahoots with the front end, make it easier. Everything is going to be easier in general. So there's going to be, the barrier to entry ultimately is going to be lower, but there are some, it's not going to be as accentuated for those particular industries that I have aforementioned. Those are always going to be they're always going to, you still need to buy materials, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, when it comes to most businesses nowadays, it's going to be a lot easier. It's going to be a lot easier to get in. A lot easier to get in. And without a lot of money either. So, yeah, basically, I'm just here to keep it. I'm here to share my perspective on everything, and I really, honestly, just keeping it 100%. This is how I talk. This is how I get down when it comes to business. Again, I've seen a lot of businesses come, go, this, that, and I've realized in between all of that having like particularly speaking corporate and being nice and kind of sugarcoating it, that doesn't get the job done at the end of the day. Come on, like those things don't necessarily get the job done. I'm looking to speak with people that are more concerned with context, not necessarily tone. So some people are still into tone because they're still in that paradigm. But come on, let's be clear. Like, look at what's going on around us. Look at the politics. Look at all the politics. Look at some of these Fortune 500 CEOs. They're just telling you how it is nowadays, guys. Y'all gonna have to take. You are the next millionaire CEOs going on. You guys are next. It's only a matter of time. You started your business, okay. It's going to be rough for a little bit. It's only a matter of time before you're going to be one of those guys that are like, you got to tell your team how it is. You don't have employees. If you have employees, you get it. But if you don't have employees, you need to understand that there's going to be some point where you're going to have to tell it like it is. That doesn't mean you have to be vulgar, and that doesn't mean you have to, basically be condescending or anything. But there's a way that you're going to have to talk to the people that you're associating yourself with, so that you feel comfortable, Christ, so that you can go in there and feel, like you can rely on the people that you're bringing into your culture, your community, and that you don't have to overthink what you say. As long as we keep, there was a term that someone said a while ago, that kind of makes sense. It's called professional assertion, professional, or even in some cases, professional aggression. If you assert yourself a certain way, but professionally, meaning without using profanity, without showing or trying to demonstrate too much domination, as long as you're putting yourself in a situation where you can actually show value to the people around you, being assertive is not a problem. Or even being like, I like to gradiate. I like to use a system of gradation when I say assertion and aggression, because I really think that there's a level of assertion that's slightly past assertion, but it's right below aggression. I'm still trying to learn the word for that. Leave the word in the comment section if you've run across that word in the dictionary before. But that's really where we are right now. 2024, it's going to be a different ballgame, different landscape, and it's only going to accelerate. What does that mean? That means that there's going to be more technology. Guys, let's be clear. There's going to be so much technology thrown at us. Technology is it's almost like going into 7-Eleven with all the apps they got out now. There's enough tech. Literally, there is enough tech products. I'm telling you, there's enough tech products. It looks like walking into Walmart. It is. Honestly, go do your research. Go look it up. Look up AI products. Go look up AI applications. Doesn't matter what necessary denomination or what type of category or topic it's under. Doesn't matter. Just look up AI applications. You're going to see a whole bunch of different things that you've never even seen before. Like, what the hell are they doing on Silicon Valley? And guess what? Those are the tools that your competition is using to take you out. This is why it's important to have some type of sense of your competition in terms of the higher level competition, the more corporate competition, because they're going to really be giving you a real idea of, if you're the thing about small businesses, and this is what I used to tell back at the firms that I used to work for. I used to tell a lot of the guys on the floor that were on the floor with me in sales. I used to tell them, I'm like, look, you need to know who your competition is. Your competition is not in your area of your vertical. Your competition is Blackstone. We're in business lending. You have to look at the highest form of what you're doing. That is the epitome. That is the true competition. Those are the guys that are eating you up. They're swallowing you whole. How is that not your competition, guys? How is your competition not the businesses that could literally throw a couple dollars and just buy you out? Or open up something right next to you and just take all the business? That is your competition. You need to be studying those guys. How are they operating? Ultimately, they're here. And guess what? A lot of them are on social media right now. A lot of them have their own social media platforms. Look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk can't even shut that guy up. Billy, richest guy on the planet, can't even get him off of any type of social media. So much so that he actually bought a social media company. Can't even get him off of it. That is your competition, guys. He's talking to everybody. He's not just talking. He's not like you and me, where we're just talking to, I'm just talking to Sally, Sue, and Henry, and they happen to be my clients and people in my circle. No, he's talking to everybody just as much as you guys think you are. So at the end of the day, it's really going to be about branding yourself to a point where you can start emulating a lot of the guys that are on top of your particular industry. Are the quintessential businesses. Gotta have an idea of who your competition is. They are going to be the ones that are driving all of this new technology into the market. Because when they do it, trust me, when they do it, you're the guy that you used to see. I go to a function every year. If you go into events and functions that give off appreciation for other companies in your industry or vertical. You go to a function. No, but guess what? Jacob and his company, they didn't show up this year. Why? Because they're a mid-sized business now. They graduated. How'd they do that? So everybody's not going to be around all the time. Some businesses stay small because they don't know how to use a lot of different tools to increase their operational capacity. I've seen it with my own two eyes. And then you come, and someone like myself comes in, that's someone that's forward thinking, and people don't know, they get stuck. Or I'm ahead, and then 3 years later, everybody's talking about what I said 3 years ago. I'm already on to the next thing. But most, and I'm happy for the people, because obviously businesses, if you're a business that's running a certain amount of employees, one thing I do understand, and I'll give leeway on that, it's not always easy to implement everything at the drop of a dime, because there's a lot of considerations to be made on multiple different fronts, whether it's the accounting, financing, back end stuff, front end stuff, legal matters. You already have something that you're working on, project that you're working on. I understand that. But as freelancers, small businesses that have, a very low number, I would say I'm not going to put a number out there on how many employees, but there's really no excuse to not being able to implement certain tools to get you to a different level. You have to be able to communicate effectively to your target audience, but more importantly, you're going to need to actually be able to sit down with the people that are in your organization and create a process that's working for them. Or, moving forward, if you already have an existing process, if you're at the onset, you need to be building a process that you feel people will be comfortable. Because let's be honest, in this day and age, every existing business owners, they already know it's hard to hire people on the small business front. It's hard. Number one, you have to pay a whole bunch of money. The wages have gone up. But number two, it's difficult to do something where you can't necessarily sugarcoat and hold everybody's hands on the actual process of things, especially if you're working blue collar. If you're doing some type of administrative work, there's just certain tasks that are going to be paid a certain amount of money that a lot of people may not feel comfortable doing. It's very important, and more specific than just a process. What's your culture like? What's your culture like? Why some businesses do better than you? Because your culture, no offense, but it sucks. Your turnover's whack. You have businesses coming in and out. You have businesses. You can't keep no clients. You can't keep any customers. You can't keep any employees. Your mid-management, they disappear and try to look for something else. Your culture sucks. It happens all the time. Oh, by the way, all that hiring you're doing, that costs money. Not only just the actual hard tasks, but the soft tasks as well. And all that white noise that's in between when you don't have people sitting in your seat, that costs you money as well. There's opportunity cost and time and energy, and obviously money. But come on, business owners, startups, and everybody, marketers, what happened? Yeah, I'm out here now because I've done 10 years worth of research specifically, so I could chop it up with you guys. We want to see where everybody's head is at. We want to see, because there's going to be business owners that are going to be open. See, what's going to happen is this: there's going to always be two camps, major camps. There's going to be guys, there's going to be people that are for me, people not for me, That's okay. Worried about. I'm not really worried. If you're not for me, just sit down and watch. Sit down and watch. You still might learn something. It doesn't matter. Um, but yeah, what's your culture like? Oh yeah, and I don't care if you're for me or against me. What's your culture like? What's your business like? If you had to go work for yourself, what is it like? What kind of manager are you? What kind of owner are you? Are you a type of manager or owner where no one can get a hold of you? You don't make sense to the person that's actually asking you. What do I mean by that? They don't know what you know. Then you can't give them a one-liner or some vague piece of information and expect people to come to the table and actually understand what you mean. Sometimes you have to walk people through your explanations. That's called communication skills. See, far too often as small business owners tend to have the hard skills. Oh, I could drive a truck. I know how to get the loads, drive a truck. I know how to do the sales, talk on the phone. I can make 500 calls a day. I know how to cook and clean. So I could have a restaurant and I could just hire some people that are okay. They don't know the recipe as much as I do. They don't do it the same way, but it's close. It's close enough. You have the hard skills. You know how to do what put you in business. But see, the Fortune 500 CEOs have soft skills. That is what they focus on. They don't focus on the hard skills because at a certain level, it's going to be more about delegating tasks, communicating. If I had to put the top three: communicating, delegating tasks, and building a team. Those are soft skills. Has nothing to do with the actual project. Those are skills that you can take and you can pretty much have them in any vertical. They're transferable skills. You do not need to have a particular vertical in order to have those abilities. And that's something that a lot of small business owners don't have, and that's why they don't get anywhere. I see it. I'm in lending. There's business owners that don't know how to ask for what they want. And then when you go and try to tell them something, they either act like they act like they know already. They don't really want to listen to their advice because they feel like they're lacking in some capacity. They contest. Ultimately, listening is one of the best soft skills that you could have. Being an active listener. That would be the fourth thing. If I of the three that I mentioned, I would add that as a major fourth. As a matter of fact, that might be on top because it leads into the other three. Having the ability to actively listen based off of the things that you want to hear. Basically, you're actively constructing an idea based off of what you hear from the person, but also you're also listening to the things that they may be omitting. They may be omitting from their presentation. So you're doing both. You're listening to the things you are trying to listen to. You're listening to everything, so you could have a broad context. You could have a broad and in some cases specific context to what they're trying to say, but also the things that they're not saying. Why? Why is it important to listen to the things that are not being said? The reason why it's important to listen to the things that are not being said because those are the points that may be the points that get the project done. People cannot be missing details. In other senses, let me bring up an example. If you were an investigator and you were listening to and you were investigating, if you were interrogating somebody, let's put it that way, more specifically, if you were interrogating somebody on an investigation, you're going to be listening to what they do not say. As much as you're going to be looking at body language, listening to the context of what they're saying, you're going to also be listening to stuff they don't mention to see if their story makes sense. That is a skill most people do not have. They don't know how to listen for things that are not said. The only thing they're listening is what they, and that's even if they can even listen to what people are saying. I've been on the phone for 10 years. I know I'm listening to people. When I'm listening to people talk, I'm listening to a whole bunch of stuff. That's why when the BS and the nonsense comes out, I'm trigger happy because at the end of the day, I know you're not every day presented with a situation where someone's going to. They know what they, especially in their vertical. If we're keeping it in a professional environment in a board meeting of such, they are very much aware of all aspects of what they need, what needs to be presented to the table. They are aware of the details to some capacity, and if it's not being brought up at the table, then those are the things that they have to listen out for, so that if it's not, they can sound the alarm and say, okay, but what about this? Someone might be making a proposal on X, but did they but did they factor in Y? Yeah, so you gotta look at your big brothers. You gotta look at your big brothers and sisters out up there. Look at your big brothers and sisters. They're kicking ass just like anybody else out there. And it's up to small businesses, myself included. I'm not exempt from anything that I'm saying. I am attempting to articulate it to the audience, but I'm not exempt from anything. Gotta look at guys, the people that are doing it already, that are at the highest level in the vertical. Gotta look at them. Have to. There's almost no way to say that you're competitive and not do that. Even if you don't succeed, you might not be Fortune 500. You might not be Fortune 1,000 or 2,000, but at the end of the day, if you are running a business where you're profiting and you have a certain standard of living and you can be flexible to go into other ventures as you please, or basically do what you please in general, you're winning 100%. So we don't need to be exact like them, but they are a benchmark for success, especially if they've been around for a number of years. There have been examples where you don't want to be like those guys, like FTX. There are always those companies. We don't always know what's going on behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, with the amount of capital, reach, branding that they have, it's safe to say that they're going to be around longer than a lot of small businesses of the same duration, that have the same length of time. Let's just be clear. And the pandemic has proved that, if anything else, because I was around for that and it sucked too. The guys at the top, they probably were the only ones that benefited from that one. Okay, I know I didn't. And a lot of my clients, please, that learning experience was among many that was quite significant. I mean, probably more so. Um, it was very sad. You talking to guys for years and they can't do it. Me, I basically I myself during the pandemic I folded. There was no reason for anybody to necessarily do business with me because the government was giving out almost free money like hotcakes. What was I? They didn't need me. There was really no. I mean, there was an opportunity to kind of get in on the PPP loans and stuff like that, but come on, it wasn't the same. Not to mention there was a lot of businesses that weren't able to get anything. So there's always that. Um, so let's see. We are. I love how I'm just able to just go straight into it. I didn't prep any of this, by the way. I mean, I wrote some notes like that, kind of what I wanted to talk about, but it's just a stream of consciousness at this point. Um, so yeah. End of the day, when we talk about 2024 and the potential that each one of us have, we talk about locking in, really focusing. I know everybody has different level of obligations. Some people have children, a wife and kids, girlfriend, maybe multiple businesses. There's different level of obligations. And I mentioned all of that just to really touch base with the freelancers out there, because a lot of freelancers kind of struggle to have time because they might have a full-time job. They might not have fully invested into growing their own personal business or brand. But those are just a lot of things to consider. You want to really consider what's your culture looking like, even your own personal culture. The thing about culture is that culture starts with the individual. Often, unless you're in a partnership, but even then, culture is going to start. Why? Because that is going to immediately bleed into your ability to select a partner. Whatever your particular culture is going to influence your hiring. You're setting the tone as the partner. Even if I don't care if they have the same stake in the company, if they have the same amount of shares in the company, it doesn't matter if you're a majority. If you're a majority, minority, if you both have the same ownership. If you are a partner, you picking the other partner, you both are equally picking through the influence of your own particular culture and values. That's where culture comes from. Culture is not just a word that we say so we could all be like Google. Oh, I want nap time, everybody. We have free lunch. Everybody gets to come in there in shorts and a t-shirt. That's not where culture starts. Culture starts with the individual that is putting forth the platform. Whoever's casting the vision, that's where the culture is coming from. So if you're a freelancer, that needs to be in mind. You need to dive into who you are as a person and really examine who you want to enter your business. And that could be clients as well. It's not necessarily only going to be employees. Clients, let me tell you, and the consultants could back me up. That's where all this scope creep and that's where these contractual agreements really come into play. Is so there's no scope creep, and that everybody really has an understanding of what's to be expected in the project. Clients could be so annoying when it comes to that, because they may own a business, but they still think that they're entitled to all the things that they wouldn't expect someone else to do to them. But that's why it's important to have your team in place. I'm going off tangents that I'm going to basically segment. I'm going to segment each of the tangents or the topics. Let's just call it topics. It sounds better. All the topics, and I'm going to make separate videos on each one of them. And they may not necessarily be live. I'm going to listen to this. Matter of fact, I have most of them pretty much in my head already. But I can start a little list of notes. Because basically, like, my goal ultimately is to have different forms. I don't only want to do long form. I want to have short form, and even have shorts. Like, which is short form, but I mean like short form, not in the sense of like having a 5 to 6 minute clip, but like a 60-second clip or less. So yeah, the culture starts with us. It's not just about, hiring. It's also about who you're working with, type of team what type of clients you have. I've had some great clients. Then I've also had clients that they want you to work for free. And in my line of work, we charge fees. So we can't work for free. I'm sorry. If you're working on X amount of X amount of money, and then at the end of the day, they're trying to reduce you down to like nothing, and you have partners on the deal. Come on, like they're trying to reduce you down to. They're like, oh no, you can get 1 point on this, and you've been working like 2 weeks on the deal already, and you have a partner. Goodbye. Like there's just in certain senses, and it's taboo to really in business and financing. I do small business financing. It's very taboo to charge upfront fees. That's why I created my consulting model, because far too often people just like they don't want to do anything. They just want to waste your time, and I'm like, okay, I don't think I want to necessarily. I kind of don't want to deal with people that are just going to talk for like 15 to 30 minutes, and then they get information out. I don't hear from them again. They don't want to do anything with you. They just no. You're going to pay for it now. So, by the way, I have a link down. If you want to get some one-on-one advice, if you really want one-on-one advice and you want to hear it from somebody that dealt with hundreds of businesses, worked with thousands, but have actually funded hundreds of businesses, you could book a consultation below. There's a link down there to my Calendly. Yeah. I'll also be adding my email down there just in case people have one-on-one questions, just so I can engage a little more. Once I actually do have some traffic, I do plan on doing these videos semi-routinely. And it may not always be at the same part of the day. I planned on doing it today because today's a holiday. So I was like, okay, there may not be as much traction, but I just want to initiate A, the conversation, and B, my process of actually going through and doing these videos, so that in the grand scheme of things, we could all just sit down and, I could actually have a smooth process. I do want to get a particular setup. I might be a month or this is an extra room in the house, but I may want to change my setup. Also, pardon the which I didn't mention on YouTube. Pardon the airplane noises. I can't do anything about that. But I'm pretty sure I'm louder than them, and I talk a lot, as I put in my description. So you may, I'm pretty sure you hear it, but at the end of the day, it shouldn't really bother you too much. I do also want to get to a point where I can have some background music. Not to say that I want to necessarily be competing with it, but something that's audible enough where we could all hear it and have like sort of like a vibe. I have some pretty good selections. I'm not, we're probably keep it jazzy or something like light jazz or like one of those study jazz things. But I just need to go through a list of songs that I can play that aren't copyrighted necessarily, this, that, and the third. Which is going to be, it's going to take a long time. So now, yeah, those are basically some key aspects. The mindset that we have as business owners, freelancers, what have you, that is going to be very key. Your mindset, what you're coming in there understanding, and what kind of concepts you understand are going to play into your success ultimately. Why? Because the foundation is going to be based on all of that. Your foundation is going to be predicated on what type of concepts you've already internalized before you actually went on your venture. So if you're running a company and you don't have your own personalized email, you don't have a website, you're not on social media at all, you need to get on the ball with those things. Those things need to be done. It's not uncommon to find businesses that don't have emails, let alone social media. But you guys they don't have I'm sorry, they're personalized emails. They don't have personalized emails. They're just like, oh, something trucker@gmail.com. I'm like, you didn't even try. I get it, it's free, but that's not really the best look. Like, again, we're talking about quality in 2024, guys. You got my audience, quality. If you're not trying to do anything quality based, you need to start learning how to do that. We are doing quality here. You can't fake everything. That fake it till you make it, just get the numbers, that's done. We're not into that because why? Because everything that you're going to be doing is eventually going to be client facing. You are eventually going to have to put a presentation out to the client, and they are going to determine whether you fit their category or not. And if it's going to be based on something like, if it's going to be based on anything, at least don't be because it was sloppy. We're not counting slop. If it's sloppy, it's not going to happen. As a business, I don't care if you're a trucker, you need a website. First of all, it's just easier to get funded as a business, small business, when you have a website. Because don't think that the top small business lenders are now trying to find you. It's very shady if you don't have a website and you're not anywhere to be found. The only thing you have is a paid. Only thing you have is like information on your truck registration or your authority. That's the only thing you have. They don't have no names. They don't have no, no way to contact you. Nothing. That's very shady. Like having a website, it opens you up a little bit, so people could be like, okay, this is something. At least they're trying. Consultants, freelancers, you guys know what I'm talking about. See, the businesses that already have their restaurants open, I love you guys, but you guys already have your stuff established. You don't really need to know what we're talking about. You're not really caring about at the onset or really getting your client. You have a business that people are they're finding you by walking in. They could just walk down the block and be like, I want some sushi, and go get some sushi from your restaurant. So your advertising is ongoing. We're talking about people that have to go online, make phone calls, have business cards and things of that nature, primarily to run their business. You need a website. Everybody can agree with that. If you're not agreeing that you need a website, you need to go do some research, because you're not listening to me. Obviously you don't believe me. So go ahead and do your own independent research and learn how powerful having a website and social media is. If you don't have those things, in an email, preferably a personalized email. Guys, it costs like $5 a month or $7 a month or something like that to have a G Suite. Can you please stop? It's not that serious. You guys are making like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on a monthly basis as small business owners. Come on. Go get a G Suite and do it the right way. Go get a website and do it the right way. Let people know who you are. There's going to come a day where you're going to need a line of credit or you're going to need some financing, and they're not going to know who you are, and they're going to be like, okay, no, because there's no online presence. I've seen deals die like that at funding or in final underwriting. So do not play yourselves. Again, you might be making hundreds of thousands of dollars, 600,000, a million. Those guys are making millions of dollars. They have websites. But if you just broke into hundreds of thousands as a trucker because you have 5 trucks on the road and each of them are bringing in 20,000 or more or something like that, come on. Or you have your own authority, come on, just make a website. If you have your own authority, come on, just do it because you can. You guys are making the money. Just put some money into marketing. I'm not going to say that if you're an existing business, you necessarily need to have social media all the time if you're a trucker or whatnot. But for a lot of businesses that are on the client-facing side, that are client-facing but they're white-collar, you need one. If you're a blue collar if you're a blue collar and you are at lower scale, then I would say yes, go on social media and this and that, and make sure it's local. Because the thing about social media that could be an issue for a lot of blue collar is that, okay, so if somebody finds you in Arkansas, but you live in Washington and you're a plumber, that doesn't help you. So I get it. But at the same time, you do want, if you can localize it by like having people family members, business owners that are in your area, that would be a better opportunity as a startup on a startup level. Obviously, if you're a senior, if you're already grown, if you're I would say somewhat a senior small business owner, if you can let me get away with that nomenclature. If you're already established, you've got 5 years, 10 years, skin in the game, you don't got to worry about that as much. You probably already have a website, to be honest with you, just to make it easier for your clients because you understand that the user interface is very important. And you might not have out of state clients, but you probably have out of town clients. And it'd be just easier for them to get in contact with you or coordinate via your website. So I've seen a lot of plumbers and constructions have websites. Construction companies have websites, just explain what they do have, where they are, where they service, XYZ, and things of that nature, how to reach them, so forth. So those are things to keep in mind. So even for blue collar, doesn't really matter. I've seen people who are playing the game seriously have websites. Why do I drill this in? Because there's a lot of people who think they don't need it. And it's not hard to have, come on, guys. Oh, I don't want to spend $10,000 on a website or $5,000 to $15,000 on a website, depending on how diligent or whatever, the software developer works. Parity in the prices on websites, but let's be honest, you can do it yourself. Come on, $300 a month, WordPress, Wix, GoDaddy, no excuses. It doesn't need to be elaborate or crazy. Doesn't need to be crazy. You're not trying to win an award. Just have it functioning. Basic functionality. Let them be able to find you. Because chances are, being a consultant, you're not getting a loan anywhere. 9 times out of 10, you can, but most of the time you're not. Especially if you're not if you don't have skin in the game, you don't have a real agency or something like that. See, that's the difference. You might be a consultant, but that doesn't mean you have an agency. So if you don't have an agency, just like a trucker, you might have a truck. You might have 3 trucks, but that doesn't mean you have an authority. Different levels. So at the end of the day, if you're not skilled the right way, which is a completely different conversation, guys. Completely different conversation. Scaling is very, very, very. That's the other thing. The Fantastic Four. Who are the Fantastic Four? Y'all want to know? Y'all want to know who the Fantastic Four is? I would ask somebody to put one in the chat, but ain't nobody in the chat right now, so we're just gonna go with it. The Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four, outside of yourself, you need a team of people to get stuff done to scale the business. Debatable. And might be able to be swapped out for something else. But I'll go through it anyway. You need a team. What's your basic team? Your team has a starter package. You have a starter package for your team. And it has nothing to do with your business. Guys, stop thinking about, you guys think about, in my business. Remember, stop thinking about working in your business. Work on your business. People who are in your business can't work on your business. I don't care if you have your own legal team. I don't care if you have your own accounting. I don't care. They're only looking at the numbers. that are based on the business itself. They're not necessarily. If you want to go, why do you think Fortune 500 companies oftentimes or larger companies often hire consultants in form of accountants, lawyers, attorneys, XYZ, because they want to go get a grasp of how to move their vehicle forward. Not the internal operations, but the entire vehicle. In order to do that, that is an external play. That's an external perspective. You cannot do that by looking inside of the business. It's not going to work. I don't care how many numbers you crunch. That's because the reason why is because there's going to be, and here's the reason, before I go to the Fantastic Four. The way I like to look at it is that you're a car that's driving through muddy terrain. You could be driving through muddy terrain, a smooth street, potholes. Basically, you are driving through an environment. That environment could be the economy, the political and geopolitical landscape. There are, and governments. There are a lot of different things that you are driving through. That's why consultants are important, because they do the research to allow you to play, to have a play. People who are in the business, that are working in the business, that are tasked functioning inside of the business, will not be able to tell you all of those details, because they have tasks that are based inside of the operations of the business itself. Not necessarily what you're going to be interacting with the other cars on the road. Completely different concept. The Fantastic Four. Number one, accountants. Number one, I'm not talking about H&R Block. I'm talking about CPA. You want somebody that gives you, that understands what your business. They can basically talk. They are qualified to talk about the scope and the breadth of your business industry in detail, so they can give you pointers as a consultant, or not a coach, as a consultant. The Fantastic Four are on consultant basis. Basically, they're taking your business and they're going to give you pointers that are specific to your particular area based on their expertise. And they usually have a higher level of education, degrees or certification, or are part of an association that grants them the ability to actually give you said advice and consultation. So, accountant. What's number two? A lawyer. Yes. You're not, trust me, you and all you rich guys out, all you rich ladies, you guys know what I'm talking about. Just listen. You guys know, at the end of the day, if you're not starting the business with, at least you don't got an attorney in your pocket, you need to be able to know what the laws look like. You can't just do stuff. That's not how that works. Because you, at any point, you don't know who's gonna. At least, if you're not gonna fully invest in consultation, because you might not need all of that just yet. At least knowing that there are different types of attorneys. Every attorney doesn't do the same thing. They all have their different niches that they appeal to, and furthermore, a lot of them, everything's not litigation. Knowing how to talk to a corporate attorney is actually maybe just as beneficial, especially in the context of consulting with at the onset of building up the corporation and going through bylaws and things like that. Those are really more on the corporate side. Number three, I would say a banker, a financier, a broker, a lender, a business lender. Why? Because they're going to be able to give you the insight on what your capacity to get financing is ultimately. If you need financing, either through your local bank, a lender, you're going through you're going through different rounds of funding for a startup, those guys are going to be able to consult with you a different way. Or if you have a business broker or some type of venture capital or something like that that's going to either buy your company full out or buy into your company, those are all forms of finance funding. It's either funding or a buyout is going to give you, different. It's going to give you capital, but that's sort of a separate conversation. But all the other things are ways to raise capital. You need to have that down too. That's very important because there's going to come, especially where you are, you might have an opportunity. Here's what happens. A lot of times, companies have growing pains. I've seen it several times. A decade in the game of business lending, small businesses, they get to a point a lot of times where it's like, construction guy. He does electrical, and he's an electrical contractor. He has projects. He can't even touch the projects because there's a certain amount of money you got to put down on certain projects, right? And his line of credit is only $2 million, but he has 50 million plus in projects. And the bank won't give him a higher line of credit. So he doesn't know, and he doesn't have the know-how to navigate through the finance world. Again, business owners, just because you have the hard skills and you know your game, that doesn't mean you know everything else. And that's why the Fantastic Four is important, because growing pains come in where you need to go and buy a new machine for your manufacturing because you are reaching a different point in your design where you need that machine. And then that goes into other things like the zoning and what you're actually able to keep in certain space and the capacity and that stuff. Financier, banker, broker. Then you could get it. Then number 4, you could just, I would say like a local politician, like somewhere that could really have your back or like give you press. But that's a kind of a higher level play. But other than a local politician, I would say PR. That was going to be the one of the two. They could kind of almost do the same thing. They can give you access to certain things. They could have your name in a certain conversation. Don't get it twisted. Your local politician, they could save your ass a lot of times. If you get into certain situations and you have a good rapport with your local politician, vouching for you matters. As a small business, vouching for you matters. They are themselves a personal brand. So being a personal brand that's on a higher level, they have access to a lot of things that a business not necessarily focusing on personal brand at the onset, but necessarily their corporate brand, corporate image doesn't have yet because people don't know you. They may know the business to an extent, but they may know the politician a lot more. So they will be able to give you insight on where to go or what to do, or basically get you acquainted with their team to a degree. But PR is also another route that you could take in order to get your name out there in terms of advertising. You'll have a team out there that can work on that. But that's the Fantastic Four. You have local politician and or PR, financier and or banker, broker, accountant, and your lawyer, attorney. That's the Fantastic Four right there. Have to have those. If you don't, eventually, at the onset of the business, it's not necessarily, you're more focused on actually putting the business in motion, trying to get clients, things of that nature. All these things are not necessarily going to be in your original playbook, but they need to be somewhere down the line if you decide on scaling the business, which we all do. Being able to scale the business is very important. Especially if it's something where you're a tangible asset. If you're tangible, like a plumber or something, you want to be able to link up with all 4 of these. Now, if you're doing something that's online, I don't know how much you're going to need a politician, but it probably is really good to have some press. So that angle, yes. So, and PR, if somebody name drops you on a local PR thing, in your Chamber of Commerce, very important, guys. Link up with the Chamber of Commerce. That's why it's very important important to have social media and to be visible, because if you're not visible, no one knows who the hell you are, and they're not going to vouch for you, and they really honestly probably going to overlook you to somebody that is visible. With that being said, I think I said enough. There's some things that I didn't necessarily get to, but I do want to end the stream here, just so I could go over my notes. And I will be posting semi-regularly, so you can find me here on this channel, Hassan Patterson. Yes, so everybody have a good day. Leave some comments, like and subscribe if you haven't already. I know I failed to do that in the beginning of the video, of the stream rather, but what have you. So I'll talk to you guys later. And yeah, you'll be seeing more of me. Ciao.